Welcome back, everybody. This is Sadler's seminar. The time is 8:45. We have a special guest with us in the studio today. His name is Paul Schneider, and he's an expert in political speech, debate, and modern linguistics. He's also a political specialist, and today we're going to be talking with him for a bit about sound bites.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Now, Paul, let's jump right into it to educate those who don't know. What exactly is a sound bite?
A soundbite is a piece of an audio clip that is taken out of the context from the bigger picture.
So how do these sound bites then relate to politics?
Well, in the most common applications, they're typically used by politicians to deceptively manipulate the opponent's words against themselves.
So they take a speech, interview, or any audio of the speaker and just cut it out to the specific words they want someone to hear?
Precisely.
Could you give us an example?
Well, a notable example from last year's presidential election is Barack Obama's "You didn't build that" comment that was used as a soundbite in one of Mitt Romney's ads. Let's bring that up and take a listen.
People who've worked hard, started a business, and created jobs can't believe what President Obama's saying about them.
If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
What an insult.
I'm outraged.
I can't believe he just said that.
I can't believe the President of the United States could say that I have not made this.
The government had pretty...
Oh, I remember this. President Obama was actually talking about how people lent to your success. A great teacher, a worker who put the roads down, all those before us who made it possible to do what we do today.
Exactly, but those against Obama were able to take this out of context and make it extremely misleading.
Oh wow, so I guess if you didn't have the context for what Obama's speech was actually talking about, you'd think exactly what Romney wanted you to think, that Obama actually doesn't believe small businesses can be independent and self-sustainable.
That's the essence of soundbites, to manipulate what the audience, or voters, hear and what they then believe about a person or a party.
But then how does one figure out if what they're hearing is a misleading soundbite?
To a certain extent, there's nothing more you can do than to listen to something, think to yourself, that doesn't sound quite right, then maybe Googling the word said and researching what the greater context around the soundbite was.
What do you mean exactly by "it doesn't sound right"?
Well, just give me a minute here with my computer and...
Welcome back, everybody. This is Paul Schneider seminar. Wow, you put the words right in my mouth.
Yeah, that's the power of manipulating words. Although that one didn't sound even remotely authentic or legitimate, there are some that sound very plausible even after a certain amount of distortion and digital editing and cutting the words around.
Well, it sounds like sound bites are only negative here. Are there any positive uses of sound bites?
Well, they're often used by a politician to promote themselves through their positive sound bites, mainly things they said in speeches that were particularly powerful or meaningful. They use them to show how they might be working for the citizen or to summarize their policies in an eloquent way.
Can you give us an example?
Well, a good use of this was during one of Obama's ads in the 2008 election. Let's take a listen.
Some said our best days were behind us, but not him.
Don't bet against the American worker.
He believed in us, fought for us, and today our auto industry...
And what about other types of usage, aside from the polarity of attack ads and promotional ads?
Well, it's common to see viral and comedy videos using sound bites. Have you seen any of this sort?
Not that I can recall.
Well, let's listen to this viral video I know of that was quite popular during the elections.
She's up all night till the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good luck. I'm up all night to get what? We're up all night till the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good luck. We're up all night to get what?
Love that song. So sound bites can also be used in a less aggressive, purely comical use too.
Yeah, as long as it can effectively communicate a certain idea, sound bites can be used in nearly any style.
So, I wonder, how long have sound bites been around?
Well, it all started when television and radio began to increase in popularity in about the 60s. The term soundbite itself was coined in the 70s.
Can you give us an example of an early soundbite?
Sure, here's an ad I found made by the Kennedy administration during his political race versus Nixon.
At the same press conference, President Eisenhower said,
"No one can make a decision except me.
And as for any major ideas from Mr. Nixon,
if you give me a week, I might think of one. I don't remember."
President Eisenhower could not remember, but the voters will remember. for real leadership in the 60s. Help elect Senator John F. Kennedy president.
That is really fascinating to see how an effective technique of today was used over 50 years ago. It still has all of the same principles attached to it. It's strange to remember and think about the fact that mudslinging and attack ads have been around as long as politics have. But now with the modern technology of audio, soundbites seem to be the latest and greatest way of doing so.
Well, yes, it's a very helpful strategy for politicians. They're constantly making speeches, participating in interviews, and so forth. There are hundreds of soundbites to choose from, which makes using soundbites pretty hard to pass up on. However, soundbites were not as aggressive as they are now.
How so?
Well, way back then in the 60s, the average soundbite used in attack ads was, let me pull up the exact numbers here. Yes, 43 seconds. Since 1983, that average has shrunk to just 9 seconds. So, because the politicians were employing ever-shortening soundbites, CBS actually enacted a policy around the 1992 elections that said all uses of soundbites by both sides needed to be at least 30 seconds. This made it increasingly hard for politicians to get any airtime because their clips were just too short.
So then is that policy still in place?
No, obviously not. It failed within the following year.
Personally, I like short sound bites. They get to the point and they're interesting. But, I think there might be a downside to them.
Huh, and what might that be?
Well, to show you, I want to go back and talk about the Romney "you didn't build that" ad. I'm sure there were tons of people who were none the wiser and believed exactly what Romney wanted you to think. But for those who really knew, namely the Democrats, wouldn't that infuriate them to see that a supposedly trustworthy politician is inaccurately and unethically exploiting the words of his opponent? I mean, to tell you the truth, that kind of made me angry.
Well, that's precisely what happened. So, although soundbites are a good method of attack, when they're wrongly used to an extreme, like in this specific ad, they can backfire. People start talking about it to one another, informing the ones who don't know of Obama's context, and then in no time, tens of thousands of Americans are painting Romney as the liar.
I think that's really great, actually.
Well, the backfire potential for anything politicians say is always there, which is why it's important to have more balanced commentators. When journalists are trying to be impartial, it's important for them to be able to use soundbites, or quotes in their written work, that are only showing the actual, generally positive, connotation behind the words.
But is it really possible for there to be impartiality in reporting?
Well, interestingly enough, there's actually a certain amount of regulation among major publishers to try and cut down on biased soundbite usage in journalism settings.
Well, that's actually pretty cool. Oops, it seems like we're running out of time.
Aw. Well, do you have any last-minute questions?
Not particularly, but I'm sure my viewers might. Keep in touch. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Paul.
Anytime. It was my pleasure.
This is Sadler Seminar. Thanks for listening. We air every Monday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. If you have any further questions, we'll be in your area very soon to answer any questions you might have. Once again, thank you. Drive safe on your Monday morning commute, and we'll see you next time.